The training hall on Station Epsilon 7 could hold 300 beings comfortably. Today, it held exactly 47 cadets, and most of them looked nervous. They stood in neat rows while Instructor Vexrail walked back and forth in front of them. His scales caught the harsh white light. His three eyes moved independently. Watching everyone at once thought Hannah Kim stood in the third row. She was smaller than most of the other cadets. The Draconid next to her was nearly 8 feet tall. The crystalline being on her other side hummed with internal energy that made her skin tingle. She kept her hands behind her back and waited. Vexrail stopped walking. The room went silent. "You have trained for 6 months," he said. His voice was rough, like gravel scraping metal. "You have learned tactics. You have learned weapons. You have learned to work with species you had never seen before you came here. Now you will face the final test." He pressed a button on his wrist device. Behind him, a holographic display appeared. It showed a destroyed city, buildings collapsed, fires burning in the distance. "This is the crucible of failure," Vexrail continued. "You will enter a combat simulation. Your mission is to protect the civilian and survive for 10 minutes. The enemies will adapt to your tactics. The environment will work against you. Your equipment will be basic." One of the cadets raised a hand. It was a Titan-class warrior covered in natural armor plates. "What is the success rate, Instructor?" Vexrail showed his teeth. It was not a smile. "In 50 years, no one has completed this trial. The best time is 8 minutes and 17 seconds. That record belongs to a Titan warrior with full exoskeleton enhancement. Most of you will tap out in 3 minutes. Some in less." The nervous feeling in the room got stronger. Hannah could hear someone breathing hard behind her. "This trial is designed to be impossible," Vexrail said. "It will teach you to recognize when you are beaten. It will teach you when to retreat. These are valuable lessons. Soldiers who do not know when to quit do not live long." He looked across the rows of cadets. "Failure here means you return to basic training for 6 months. You will repeat everything. Who wants to go first?" Nobody moved. Hannah counted to 5 in her head. Still nobody moved. She stepped forward. "I will go first, Instructor." Every head turned to look at her. Vexrail's 3 eyes focused on her together. He walked closer. "State your name and species." "Corporal Hannah Kim, human." Vexrail made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Human, of course. Your species has been in the Federation for only 10 years. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. And you volunteer for this?" "Yes, Instructor. Why?" Hannah thought about the question. She could give him the answer he wanted to hear. Something about duty or honor or wanting to prove herself. But that was not the real reason. "Because it sounds interesting," she said. Some of the cadets made surprised noises. Vexrail stared at her for a long moment. "Interesting," he repeated. "You think impossible combat trials are interesting?" "Yes, Instructor." He turned away from her. "Get ready. You have 5 minutes to prepare. Do not waste them." Hannah walked to the preparation area. It was a small room with basic equipment laid out on tables. She saw the rifle immediately. It was an old model, the kind they used for training beginners. She checked it anyway. The battery showed 60% charge. Enough for maybe 40 shots if she was careful. The armor was light. It would stop small projectiles, but nothing heavy. No energy shields. No enhancement systems. Just basic plates over her chest and back. She found the medical kit. It had bandages, a painkiller injector, and a coagulant spray. Better than nothing. Hannah sat down on the bench and took off her boots. She checked them for wear, then put them back on and tied them tight. She rolled her shoulders and stretched her neck. Then she reached back and gathered her hair. She pulled it into a tight ponytail and secured it with the band she always kept on her wrist. The door opened. Vexrail stood there. "Time is up. Are you ready, Corporal Kim?" Hannah stood up. She picked up the rifle and slung it over her shoulder. She clipped the medical kit to her belt. "Yes, Instructor. Any questions before you begin?" "No, Instructor." He studied her face. "You are smiling. Why are you smiling?" Hannah had not realized she was smiling. She thought about it. "I do not know, Instructor. I am just ready." Vexrail shook his head slowly. "Humans," he muttered. "Follow me." They walked down a corridor. Through windows, Hannah could see the other cadets gathering in an observation room. They would watch everything that happened. She did not mind. She had never minded people watching. The simulation chamber was large and empty. White walls, white floor, white ceiling. In the center stood a single door. "You will enter through that door," Vexrail explained. "The simulation will begin immediately. Your goal is to keep the civilian alive and survive for 10 minutes. If you want to quit, say the words, 'I surrender,' and the simulation will end. Do you understand?" "Yes, Instructor. One more thing." Vexrail moved closer. His voice got quieter. "There is no shame in quitting, Corporal. This trial has broken warriors twice your size. Your species is new here. No one expects you to succeed. You can withdraw now and try again in 6 months." Hannah looked up at him. He was trying to be kind, she realized. In his own way, he was trying to save her from embarrassment. "Thank you, Instructor," she said. "But I would like to try." He stepped back. "Then go." Hannah walked to the door. She checked her rifle one more time. She touched the medical kit to make sure it was secure. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Behind her, Vexrail spoke into his communicator. "All observers, take your positions. Trial begins in 10 seconds. Hannah reached for the door handle. Her hand was steady. Her heartbeat was fast but not panicked. She felt the way she always felt before something difficult. Excited. Alive. Ready. The door opened. She walked through it. Behind her, she heard Vextail say something to another instructor. "Watch. 3 minutes. Maybe less." Hannah kept smiling. She did not look back. The door closed behind her, and the world changed. The white room disappeared. Hannah stood in the middle of a destroyed city. Buildings rose around her, most of them damaged. Some had holes in their walls. Others had entire floors collapsed. Smoke drifted through the air. The smell was wrong, artificial, but the simulation was good enough that her brain tried to believe it. A voice spoke in her ear. The simulation's computer system. Mission start. Protect the civilian. Survive for 10 minutes. Timer begins now. Hannah looked around quickly. She saw the civilian 30 feet away. It was an android made to look like a generic humanoid. It stood in the open, looking confused. That was the first problem. She ran to it. "Stay close to me," she said. The android was programmed to respond to commands, but also programmed to be difficult. It nodded, but immediately started walking toward a collapsed building. "No, stop," Hannah said. She grabbed its arm and pulled it back. "Stay behind me." The android stopped. Hannah scanned the area. 3 streets led away from this plaza. Buildings on all sides, multiple windows, dozens of places for enemies to hide. This was a kill zone. They needed to move. She heard a sound. A high-pitched whine. She knew that sound. Down. She shouted. She pushed the android and dove sideways. A pulse of energy hit the ground where they had been standing. The concrete exploded. Pieces of rock flew past her head. Hannah rolled and came up with her rifle ready. She saw the shooter, a combat drone, floating near a 3rd-floor window. She fired 3 quick shots. The first missed. The second and third hit. The drone sparked and fell, but now they knew where she was. She heard movement from 2 different directions. More drones. She grabbed the android's arm and ran toward the nearest building. Energy pulses followed them. One hit her shoulder armor. The impact spun her halfway around, but the armor held. They reached the building. Hannah pushed through a broken door and pulled the android inside. The room was dark. Old furniture lay scattered around. She moved to a window and looked out carefully. 4 drones now. They were spreading out, surrounding the building. Smart. The AI was already adapting. Hannah looked up. The ceiling was damaged. She could see broken beams and concrete. An idea started forming. "Stay here," she told the android. "Do not move. Do not make noise." She moved to the corner of the room where the damage was worst. She aimed her rifle at a specific point where a support beam met the wall. The beam was already cracked. She fired 5 shots, each one hitting the same spot. The beam broke. The ceiling groaned. Hannah ran back to the android and pushed it toward the rear of the building. Behind them, part of the ceiling collapsed. Dust filled the air. The noise was enormous. When the dust cleared, half of the building's front wall had fallen into the street. Rubble blocked 2 of the approach angles the drones had been using. In the observation room, someone made a surprise sound. Vexrail leaned forward. "What is she doing?" he asked. "She is destroying the terrain?" "It appears so, Instructor," another observer said. "That is not standard tactics." "No, Instructor. It is not." Hannah did not know about their conversation. She was busy moving. She led the android through the back of the building and out into another street. The drones would need time to reposition. That gave her maybe 30 seconds. She used them. There was a vehicle in the street, an old transport, long abandoned. She checked it quickly. The power cell was dead, but still intact. She pulled it free and stuffed it in her pack. She might need it later. Movement behind her. She turned. 2 new enemies. Not drones this time. Combat robots, human-sized, carrying heavy weapons. They moved fast. Hannah fired. Her shots hit, but the robots had armor. They did not slow down. She counted her remaining charge. 20 shots left. Not enough for a direct fight. She ran. The android followed. The robots chased them. Hannah led them around a corner, then another corner. She was mapping the area in her head as she moved. There had been a collapsed building 2 blocks back. Large pieces of concrete. She could use that, but she needed something else first. She saw what she needed. A store, its front window broken. She ducked inside and dropped to one knee behind a counter. The android crouched beside her. The robots appeared in the doorway. Hannah waited. They were programmed to be careful, to check corners. She counted to 3. When the first robot stepped inside, she shot the ceiling light directly above it. The light exploded. Glass and sparks rained down. It was not enough to damage the robot, but it was a distraction. Hannah was already moving. She went out through the back of the store into an alley. She could hear the robots following. Good. She needed them to follow. She reached the collapsed building. Large concrete slabs lay at angles, creating a maze of passages. She led the android into the deepest part, then positioned it behind the largest piece of concrete. Stay here. Do not move unless I tell you to move. The android nodded. Hannah moved back toward the entrance of the concrete maze. She found a good position with cover and a clear view. She took the power cell from her pack and set it down. She shot it once. The cell cracked but did not explode. She shot it again. It started to glow. The robots entered the maze. They moved carefully, weapons ready. They were looking for her. They did not see the damaged power cell until they were right next to it. Hannah shot it a third time. The explosion was not huge, but in the confined space, it was enough. The blast knocked both robots down. Their armor protected them, but the shockwave damaged their sensors. They moved erratically. Confused. Hana fired carefully, aiming for joints and sensor clusters. After 6 shots, the first robot stopped moving. After 8 more, the second one went down. She was breathing hard now. She checked her rifle. 4 shots left. She had been in the simulation for 4 minutes. A voice spoke in her ear. 4 minutes remaining. Hana laughed. She could not help it. She was halfway there. The other cadets had thought 3 minutes maybe. Vexrail had thought the same. She went back to get the android. It was still where she had left it. "Come on," she said. "We are doing well." The android followed her. As they walked, Hana started humming an old song from Earth. Her grandmother had taught it to her. It was about a person who kept trying even when things were hard. In the observation room, the cadets were very quiet now. They watched Hana move through the destroyed city. They watched her check corners and scan for enemies. They watched her smile. A Mindweaver cadet spoke quietly. "She is enjoying this." "Impossible," said the Titan warrior who held the record. "No one enjoys the crucible. Look at her face." They looked. The Mindweaver was right. Hana was smiling, really smiling, even as she moved through danger with almost no ammunition and basic armor. Vexrail said nothing. He watched with all 3 eyes focused on the human. He had designed this trial to break spirits, to teach acceptance of defeat. But she was not learning that lesson. She was learning something else entirely. On the screen, Hana found a good defensive position. She was preparing for the next wave. And she was still humming that song. 5 minutes had passed. Hana woke up in a white room, but it was different from the simulation chamber. This room had medical equipment. A monitor beeped softly next to her bed. Her body ached everywhere. She tried to sit up. A hand gently pushed her back down. "Easy, Corporal. You need rest." The voice belonged to a medical officer, a tall being with 4 arms and kind eyes. "You have 17 minor cuts, 2 cracked ribs, extensive bruising, and severe exhaustion. Nothing permanent, but you pushed your body very hard." "How long was I asleep?" Hana asked. 6 hours. "There are people waiting to see you. Do you feel well enough for visitors?" Hana nodded. Her throat was dry. The medical officer gave her water, and she drank it slowly. The door opened. Instructor Vexrail entered first. Behind him came 2 others. One was an elderly being who seemed to shimmer slightly, like heat waves on a road. A Mindweaver, Hana realized. The other was human, wearing an admiral's uniform. "Corporal Kim," Vexrail said. He sounded different, less harsh. "How are you feeling?" "Sore, Instructor. But okay." The elderly Mindweaver stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "I am Elder Suan, Commandant of this academy. This is Admiral Day Park of the human fleet." Admiral Park smiled. He was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and steady eyes. "Hello, Hana. You gave us quite a show." "I just did my best, sir," Hana said. "Your best was extraordinary," Elder Suan said. "In 50 years, no one has completed the crucible of failure. Many have tried. Warriors from every species in the Federation. All of them failed. Until you." Hana did not know what to say to that. She looked at Vexrail. "I did not mean to make your trial look too easy, Instructor. I know it was supposed to be impossible. Vexrail made that sound that might have been a laugh. "Too easy? Corporal, you nearly destroyed yourself completing it. There was nothing easy about what you did. Then, why did it work?" Hana asked. I am not stronger than the others. I am not faster. My equipment was the same. So why? Admiral Park pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down. That is what we want to explain to you. May I tell you a story? Yes, sir. 50 years ago, when I was very young, I asked my grandfather why humans were different from other species. He told me humans are not stronger or smarter. We do not have natural armor or weapons. We do not have telepathy or energy manipulation. But we have one thing that is very rare in the galaxy. What is that, sir? We do not understand the word impossible the same way everyone else does. Elder Suin moved closer. His shimmer became more focused. The corporal may not fully grasp what Admiral Park means. Let me explain. Most species in the Federation evolved on worlds where understanding limits meant survival. If a creature was too strong to fight, you ran. If a barrier was too high to climb, you found another path. Logic and acceptance of reality were survival traits. Humans evolved differently, Admiral Park continued. Your species learned that limits could be challenged. That impossible just meant nobody had figured it out yet. When humans were told space travel was impossible, they built rockets anyway. When told faster than light travel violated physics, they kept trying until they found a way around it. Hannah thought about this. But other species do space travel now. They do FTL travel. So they can do impossible things too. They learned those things, Vexrel said. His voice was quiet. They built on knowledge that already existed. But humans? Humans look at something that has never been done and say, I will try anyway. That is different. Admiral Park leaned forward. Let me tell you what we saw in the observation room. We saw you use tactics that made no logical sense. You destroyed terrain you could have used for cover. You ran toward enemies instead of away. You picked fights with your bare hands against armored robots. Every tactical manual says those choices are wrong. But they worked, Hannah said. Exactly. They worked because the AI was programmed to expect logical behavior. It could not predict what you would do because you were not trying to be logical. You were trying to survive, and you used every tool available, even tools no one else would think to use. Elder Soon's shimmer pulsed. The truth, Corporal Kim, is that Instructor Vexrail designed this trial specifically because of humans. Hannah looked at Vexrail in surprise. The instructor did not look away. Yes, he said. In the 10 years since humans joined the Federation, you have been excelling in ways we did not expect. Your soldiers win battles they should lose. Your negotiators find solutions to problems we thought were unsolvable. Your engineers fix things we thought were broken permanently. It frustrated me. I wanted to prove that humans could be broken like any other species. That your reputation was just luck. You wanted to break me, Hannah said quietly. Yes, I designed the Crucible to exploit every human weakness. Limited equipment, because humans are not strong. Fast enemies, because humans are not fast. Adaptive AI, because human tactics should become predictable. I made it impossible specifically to show humans their limits. But I did not break. No. You did not. And that has forced me to reconsider everything I thought I knew. Admiral Park stood up. Hannah, what you did in that trial is important for reasons beyond just passing a test. The galaxy is changing. New threats are emerging. Problems that do not have obvious solutions. The Federation needs people who can look at impossible situations and find ways through them. Elder Suin spoke again. We are forming a new unit, a special operations team designed to handle scenarios that are considered unsolvable. It will be small, elite, and composed of the best from each species. But it needs humans specifically for their unique way of approaching problems. You want me to join this unit? Hannah asked. We are offering you the chance, yes, Admiral Park said. You would work with other species, teach them your approach, and learn from their strengths. Together, you would tackle missions that normal units cannot handle. Hannah was quiet for a moment. She thought about the trial, about how scared she had been at times, but also how excited. How every problem had felt like a puzzle to solve. How even when things seemed hopeless, there had been one more thing to try. What kind of missions? She asked. Elder Soon's shimmer brightened. Hostage rescues from impossible locations. Infiltration into heavily defended areas. Solving conflicts that diplomacy cannot reach. Every mission will be something that on paper should fail. That sounds difficult, Hannah said. It will be extremely difficult, Vexrail said. The danger will be real, not simulated. You could die on any mission. Hannah thought about that. She thought about staying safe, doing normal assignments, living a quiet life. Then she thought about the moment in the trial when the siege unit had appeared, when she had looked at her improvised weapons and smiled. I want to do it, she said. Admiral Park smiled. I thought you might say that. But I have a question, Hannah added. In the trial, I was alone. Will I have a team for real missions? Yes, Elder Suen said. You will have a full squad. Different species, different skills. You will teach each other. Then I will do it. When do I start? When you heal, the medical officer said firmly from across the room. Not before. Everyone laughed, even Vexrail. Admiral Park moved toward the door, then stopped. Hannah, one more thing. Do you know why you were smiling during the trial? Hannah thought about it. I think I smile when things are hard. Not because I think they are easy, but because hard things are interesting. They make me feel alive. Elder Soon's shimmer pulsed in what might have been approval. That attitude, Corporal, is exactly why we need humans. Most beings fear the difficult. You embrace it. After they left, Hannah lay back in the bed. Her body hurt, but her mind felt clear. She thought about the future, about impossible missions, and the team she would work with. She smiled. Outside her room, Vexrail spoke quietly to Admiral Park. Do you think she understands how dangerous this will be? I think she understands perfectly, Park replied. And I think that is why she said yes. Humans, Vexrail muttered. But this time, it sounded almost like respect. Hannah found a building that was almost intact. 3 walls stood strong. The 4th wall had a large hole in it, which was perfect. She could see out, and she had an escape route if needed. She positioned the android in the corner farthest from the hole. Sit down, she told it. Put your hands over your head. The android obeyed. Hannah looked at her rifle. 4 shots left. She set it down carefully and started gathering materials. There was broken furniture in the room. Metal chair legs. She took 3 of them. There was wiring in the walls where the simulation had created damage. She pulled out long pieces. There was glass everywhere from broken windows. She collected the sharpest pieces and wrapped one end of each with cloth so she could hold them. She was making weapons. Simple, basic weapons. But weapons. The voice in her ears spoke again. 6 minutes remaining. Hannah worked faster. She used the wiring to create a trip line across the hole in the wall. She tied the metal chair legs to the wire at intervals. Anyone walking through would trip and make noise. She put glass pieces on the floor in front of the hole, hidden under a thin layer of dust. Step on them wrong and they would cut through boot soles. She heard something outside. The whine of drones again. More than before. Maybe 6 or 7. The AI was increasing the pressure. Through the hole, she saw them coming. They moved in formation now, covering each other. They had learned from her previous tactics. They were being careful. Hannah picked up her rifle. 4 shots. She needed to make them count. The first drone came through the hole. It avoided the trip wire. Good sensors, but it did not see the glass hidden in the dust. It hovered over them, and Hana shot the glass pieces directly beneath it. They exploded upward. Small fragments hit the drone's underside. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to damage it. The drone wobbled. Hana shot it twice more. It fell. One shot left. 3 more drones came through the hole together. Smart. Harder to target. Hana did not try. She ran to the android, grabbed it, and pulled it toward the back of the room, where a doorway led to another section of the building. Energy pulses hit the wall behind her. The android stumbled. She held it up and kept moving. They went through 2 more rooms. Hana was looking for something specific. She found it in the 3rd room. A stairway going down. Probably to a basement level. She pushed the android ahead of her. Go down fast. They went down the stairs into darkness. Hana's eyes adjusted slowly. The basement was full of old equipment. Pipes ran along the ceiling. There was water on the floor, a few inches deep. Perfect. She heard the drones above them. They would be scanning the building. They would find the stairs soon. Hana waded through the water to a cluster of pipes. She used her last rifle shot to break a power conduit that ran alongside them. Electricity sparked. The water around the conduit started to glow slightly. She moved back to the stairs and climbed up 3 steps, just high enough to be out of the water. The android stood behind her. Do not touch the water, she said. The first drone came down the stairs. It flew over the water, scanning. It did not notice the broken conduit until electricity arced from the water and hit its underside. The drone sparked and fell into the water. More electricity. The drone died. The second drone was smarter. It stayed near the ceiling, away from the water. But Hana had expected that. She threw one of her metal chair legs at it, hard. The throw was good. The metal hit the drone and knocked it sideways into a pipe. The impact damaged it enough that it lost altitude. It dropped into the water. More electricity. Another dead drone. Hana smiled. She was out of rifle ammunition. She had limited materials. But she was still moving, still thinking, still finding ways. 7 minutes remaining. In the observation room, nobody was talking anymore. They just watched. Vexrail stood with his arms crossed. His face showed nothing, but inside he was starting to feel something he did not like. Doubt. The Titan warrior who held the record spoke quietly. She just passed 7 minutes. How? Nobody answered. They did not know. On the screen, Hana climbed out of the basement. The android followed her. She led it through more rooms, always moving, never staying in one place. She found a kitchen. The cabinets held old pots and pans. She took a heavy pan. A weapon. She found a bathroom. She broke the mirror and took a large piece. She could use it to see around corners. She found an office. There were chemical bottles for cleaning. She read the labels quickly. Some of them were flammable. She took 2 bottles and stuffed them in her pack. The AI was adapting faster now. It was not sending drones anymore. It was sending something bigger. Hana heard it before she saw it. Heavy footsteps. The building shook slightly with each step. She looked around the corner using her mirror piece. Her heart jumped. A siege unit. The simulation had deployed a siege unit. They were designed to break through fortifications. Heavy armor, heavy weapons, and smart targeting systems. One siege unit was worth 20 regular combat robots, and she had no rifle ammunition left. Hana pulled back from the corner. She looked at the android. She looked at her collection of improvised weapons. A pan, some glass shards, 2 bottles of cleaning chemicals, and some wire. 8 minutes remaining. She had tied the record. And the hardest part was just starting. The siege unit came around the corner. It was massive, filling the hallway. Its weapon systems locked onto her immediately. Hannah did not run. Running would not help. The siege unit was faster than her. Instead, she did something it did not expect. She threw the pan at it. Not at the unit itself, but at the ceiling light above it. The pan hit the light. Glass exploded down. The siege unit's sensors scrambled for a moment, trying to process the unexpected debris. Hannah ran forward, not away. She ran directly at the siege unit. She had one of the flammable chemical bottles in her hand. As she ran, she broke the top off. The siege unit fired. The energy pulse missed her by inches. She was too close, moving too erratically. Its targeting system was designed for enemies who acted logically. Hannah threw the chemical bottle at the unit's sensor cluster. The liquid splashed across it. She followed with one of her glass shards. She scraped it against the wall as hard as she could. Sparks flew. The sparks hit the chemical. It ignited. Fire spread across the siege unit's front. It was not enough to destroy it, but it was enough to blind it. The unit stumbled backward, trying to clear its sensors. Hannah grabbed the android and ran past the unit. She could hear it behind her, recovering. It would be functional again in seconds. She needed those seconds. She ran into a large room, the biggest she had seen. It looked like it had been a warehouse. The ceiling was high. There were support pillars throughout the space. Hannah looked up. The ceiling had damage. Cracks ran through the concrete. The support pillars were struggling to hold the weight. An idea formed. A crazy idea. A dangerous idea. She smiled. 9 minutes remaining. The siege unit entered the warehouse. Its sensors were clearing. It could see her again. It raised its weapons. Hannah took her last chemical bottle and threw it at the nearest support pillar. It shattered. She used her last piece of metal to scrape the pillar where the chemical had splashed. Sparks again. Small flames. The pillar started to weaken. The heat from the fire, small as it was, affected the damaged structure. She ran to the next pillar and kicked it as hard as she could, right where it was already cracked. Pain shot through her leg, but the crack widened. The siege unit fired. The pulse missed her, but hit the third pillar. Exactly what she wanted. Hannah ran to the android and pulled it toward the far side of the warehouse where the exit was. Behind them, the first pillar gave way. The ceiling groaned. The second pillar cracked louder. The weight shifted. The siege unit realized what was happening. It started to retreat, but it was too slow, too heavy. The ceiling collapsed. Tons of concrete fell. The siege unit disappeared under the rubble. Hannah and the android barely made it out. The exit was blocked behind them by fallen debris. She stood in a new street, breathing hard. Her leg hurt from kicking the pillar. Her armor had cracks in it. Her hands were cut from handling glass. But the android was still intact. The voice in her ear spoke. 10 minutes. Trial complete. Simulation ending. The destroyed city disappeared. The white room returned. Hannah stood in the center, holding the android's arm. She let go, and it powered down. Silence. Then the door opened. Vexrail walked in. He stopped a few feet away from her and stared. Behind him, other instructors were gathering. Beyond them, Hannah could see the observation room. Every cadet was pressed against the windows, looking at her. Vexrail's voice was quiet. You completed it. Yes, instructor. How? Hannah thought about the question. How did she do it? She had used improvised weapons, changed tactics constantly, modified the terrain, refused to fight fair, and never stopped moving. I just kept trying, instructor, she said. I did not think about the whole 10 minutes. I thought about the next 10 seconds. Then the next 10 seconds after that. Vexrail nodded slowly. Then Hannah's legs gave out. She had been running on adrenaline. Now that it was over, her body remembered how tired it was. She sat down hard on the floor. "Someone get the medics," Vexrael said. 3 months had passed since the trial. Hannah stood in a briefing room on a military station called Echo Point. Around the table sat her team. There was Keth, a draconid who specialized in heavy weapons. His scales were darker than Vexrael's, almost black. Next to him sat Gian, a Mindweaver intelligence officer whose shimmer was blue instead of the usual gold. Across from them was Wix, an insectoid from the Hive Collective, who could interface directly with any computer system. They had been training together for 2 months, learning each other's abilities, learning to trust each other. "Attention," said the voice at the door. Admiral Park entered. Behind him came 2 other officers carrying data tablets. Everyone stood. Park gestured for them to sit. "I have your first real mission," he said. There was no smile this time. "It is not a good one." One of the officers activated the holographic display in the center of the table. An image appeared. A space station, commercial design, medium size. "This is Trade Station Meridian," Park continued. 48 hours ago, it was taken by pirates. 32 hostages. The pirates are demanding the release of their captured members and a ship to escape. They have rigged the station with explosives. Any incorrect approach, and they will detonate everything. Keth rumbled deep in his chest. "How many pirates?" 20 confirmed. Possibly more. They are well armed and have experience. They know what they are doing. Wix clicked his mandibles together. "Standard rescue protocols? All simulations show failure. The station's design makes stealth approach impossible. The explosive rigging is sophisticated. Any attempt to disable it will be detected. Any direct assault will result in detonation. Federation Command has spent 2 days looking for a solution." Park paused. They found nothing. Gian's shimmer pulsed. "Then why send us?" "Because impossible is what you do," Park said simply. He looked at Hannah. "Lieutenant Kim, you are mission commander. Get those hostages out alive." Hannah had been promoted after joining the unit. She still was not used to the rank, but she accepted the responsibility. She studied the holographic image. "How long do we have?" she asked. The pirates gave a deadline. 16 hours. If their demands are not met, they start executing hostages. 16 hours. Hannah felt the familiar feeling in her chest. The same feeling from the trial. Excitement mixed with fear. A problem that seemed impossible, waiting to be solved. "We will need complete intelligence on the station layout," she said. "Every access point, every system, every weakness." "Already compiled," one of the officers said, handing her a tablet. "Everything we have is there. We will also need whatever information Wix can gather from external scans," Hannah continued. She looked at the insectoid. "Can you map their computer systems without alerting them?" Wix's antennae twitched. "Yes, if I am close enough." "Within 200 meters. We can arrange that," Park said. "What else?" Hannah looked at the image for a long moment. Everyone waited. She was thinking, processing, looking for the angle that everyone else had missed. "The waste disposal system," she said finally. "Show me the station's waste disposal system." The officer looked confused but complied. The hologram changed, showing the internal systems of the station. There, highlighted in yellow, were the waste disposal conduits. "Those conduits connect to every level," Hannah said. "They are designed to be resistant to explosives because of the materials they transport. And they are probably not monitored because who watches the garbage systems?" Keth leaned forward. "You want to infiltrate through the waste disposal?" "Yes, but that alone will not work. The pirates will still have sensors on all the important areas. We need a distraction." "What kind of distraction?" Gian asked. Hannah smiled. It was the same smile from the trial. We make them think they are facing something much bigger than us. We create chaos. Make them believe a full assault force is attacking. While they focus on that, we go in through the waste system and extract the hostages. Park shook his head slowly. That is insane. It requires perfect timing, multiple points of failure, and relies on the enemy reacting exactly how you want them to react. Yes, sir, Hana said. But possible is boring. Can we do it? Park looked at the other members of the team. Keth showed his teeth in what might have been a grin. Jian's shimmer turned a brighter blue. Wix clicked his mandibles rapidly, which Hana had learned meant he was excited. Yes, Park said quietly. I think you can. But if it goes wrong, people die, Hana interrupted. I know, sir. That is why it has to work. They spent the next 6 hours planning every detail. Wix would hack into the station's external sensors and feed false data showing multiple ships approaching for an assault. Keth would use remote drones to create weapons fire patterns that looked like a coordinated attack. Jaeon would use her telepathic abilities to enhance the pirates' fear and confusion, making them believe the attack was bigger than it was. Meanwhile, Hana would enter through the waste disposal system, locate the hostages, and get them to escape pods. It was a terrible plan. It had too many things that could go wrong, but it was the only plan that had any chance of working. 14 hours later, they were in position. Hana stood at the entrance to a waste disposal access port on a small ship positioned close to the station. She wore a sealed environment suit. The smell would be bad, but she could handle it. All teams ready? She said into her com. Weapon systems ready, Keth replied. Sensor hacking complete, Wix said. Awaiting your signal. Telepathic enhancement prepared, Jian added. Hana checked her equipment one more time. Limited weapons. A small cutting tool. A medical kit. Just like the trial, she thought. Never enough equipment, always relying on improvisation. Execute, she said. Everything happened at once. Wix activated the false sensor data. The pirates suddenly saw 5 ships approaching from different vectors. Keth fired the drones, creating weapon signatures that looked like a coordinated assault. Jiang focused her telepathic abilities, finding the pirates' minds and amplifying their fear. On the station, alarms started blaring. The pirates scrambled to defensive positions. They were shouting at each other, trying to organize a response to what appeared to be a massive attack. None of them noticed one small waste disposal hatch opening and a human in an environment suit crawling. Inside, Hana moved through the conduits quickly. They were tight spaces, barely large enough for her. A larger being could not have fit. She navigated using the maps Wix had provided, taking turns climbing up access shafts, always moving toward the section where the hostages were being held. She reached a grate that opened into a corridor. Through it, she could see 2 pirates running past, weapons ready, heading toward what they thought was the main attack. When they were gone, she cut through the grate with her tool and climbed out. She was inside. Now came the hard part. The hostages were being held in a cargo bay. Hana moved carefully, staying in shadows, avoiding main corridors. She could hear the chaos around her. The pirates were panicking, believing they were under assault by a superior force. She reached the cargo bay. 2 guards stood outside. They looked nervous, distracted by the sounds of battle elsewhere on the station. Hana waited for the right moment. When both guards turned to look down the corridor at some distant noise, she moved. Fast and quiet. She hit the first guard in the back of the head with her cutting tool. He dropped. The second guard started to turn. She swept his legs, and he fell hard. 2 quick strikes, and both were unconscious. She opened the cargo bay door. Inside, 32 civilians looked up in fear. They saw a single human in a dirty environment suit. Federation rescue, Hana said quickly. Stay quiet. Follow me exactly. We have very little time. She led them back through the corridors, taking service routes and maintenance tunnels. The chaos Kath and Gion were creating continued. The pirates were so focused on the false attack that they did not notice the hostages moving through the station's back passages. Hannah got them to the escape pod bay. She started loading people into pods as fast as they could move. Launch when full, she told them. Do not wait, go. Pods started launching. The pirates would notice soon, but Hana had counted on that. By the time they realized what was happening, most of the hostages would already be safe. The last pod launched. Hana counted heads. 32 hostages. All safe. She activated her comm. Hostages extracted. Abort the distraction. Get clear. Roger that, Kath replied. Collapsing the deception now. Hana ran back through the station. She needed to get out before the pirates realized they had been tricked. She made it to the waste disposal access point and crawled back inside. 5 minutes later, she was back on her ship, pulling off the environment. Suit and breathing recycled air that smelled wonderful compared to the waste. Conduits. Mission successful, she reported to Admiral Park. All hostages safe. She could hear the relief in his voice. Well done, team. Return to base. Later, after debriefing and medical checks and congratulations, Hana sat alone in her quarters. She thought about the mission. It had worked, but barely. So many things could have gone wrong. She had been lucky, but that was okay. Luck was part of the plan too. 3,000 light-years away, on Station Epsilon 7, Instructor Vexrail stood in front of a new class of cadets. The crucible of failure waited for them. But now there were changes. Human instructors stood alongside alien ones,